Hello, everybody. Hello. Did I turn on the sound? Okay, I did. Hello, everybody. Our first evening live of the year. So glad to see you. I'm so thankful that you're joining me this evening. And if you're watching on the replay, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Y'all, we're going to do a free mug rug of the month. Over on Patreon, we're doing a block of the month. So I thought over here on YouTube, we would do a mug rug of the month. Hello, everybody. This is a free pattern. If you haven't gotten it already, it's in the description box. Click the little arrow or the caption that says see more, and it'll open up the Dropbox. You can grab the pattern there. Okay? It's a PDF. Hello, everybody. Hello. So I have a question before we get started. A friend of mine, Debbie, just sent me a message over on Facebook, and she said she cannot get into the live chat. And the only reason I would know that you cannot get into the live chat is if you're not signed into your Google account. But she says she's signed in. So does anybody else have suggestions that I could tell Ms. Debbie how to get into the live chat? Because that's the only thing that I know. Hello, everybody. The Love You Mugrug. Isn't that cute? It is so cute. So the example that you see on the screen, I did with a bias binding because of the curved edges. If you are not familiar with cutting bias binding, I put a link in the description box to a video that I put out about a week ago that shows how to get like 156 inches of bias binding from a fat quarter. No, she's not blocked. I have blocked some people, so, but I know she's not blocked. Yep, you need to be signed in. She says she's signed in, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Hopefully she can get signed in and be able to live chat with everybody. Hello, hello everybody. I'm going to switch you down to my mat so that you can see this mug rug in person, and I feel like I'm out of breath. My nose is stuffy, and sometimes it's stuffy, sometimes it's runny, so thank y'all for being patient with me this evening. Miss Debbie, Sue said exit YouTube and come back in and see if that doesn't help you get in the live chat. Diana 57 said maybe try viewing it on the telephone instead of the computer. That's a good suggestion. All right, we're going to bring you down to the cutting mat. Here's the little example one that I made. Isn't that cute? I did a little small meandering in the background. I used some pretty embroidery thread to actually stitch down the letters and quilt them at the same time. Isn't that cute? I'll show you the back. That's the back. Isn't that so cute? The little bias binding. I thought tonight we would forego the bias binding, even though I made one getting ready for tonight's live. I think we're going to do this mug rug a little bit of a different way. But I'm going to explain the 3 different ways that you can make this mug rug. Hello, everybody. Yes, 'tis the season to be sneezing. I know. I'm just getting over being sick, and all of the things, they're just not clearing up as fast as I would like, but that's okay. We're going to deal with it. But yes, isn't that so cute? So this is the pattern, y'all. It's a 1-page PDF. I printed off 2 because to make the one with the curved edges with the bias binding, you cut out the pattern on the line. See the little oval line? That's the shape, this shape, that you cut all of your layers to make the little curved edges of your mug rug, right? So I thought tonight we would do it a little bit differently. If you look at the pattern, the measurements on the pattern, it calls for a backing fabric of 12 inches wide by 10 inches tall, so 12 by 10. I've already pre-cut that. And then it calls for a batting that is 10 inches wide and 8 inches tall. I don't know that I pre-cut that exactly the right size. And I'm using a Warm and Natural. It's very thin cotton batting. I also like using an 80-20 batting as well. And then a top fabric. And your top fabric, if you cut it 10 inches wide by 8 inches tall, that'll give you an inch of extra backing fabric to do a self-binding. Y'all, we've done that many, many times here on my channel. And if you haven't seen that done, check out some of the other mug rug tutorials because it'll walk you through the process. This evening, I thought we would do the curved mug rug without a binding. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Melissa said, I have trouble downloading your patterns. Why does this not open in PDF Adobe? It's a Google Share document. So some systems play well with Google Share documents and some systems do not. So if you have a problem downloading the PDF, send me an email to lisacapenquilts@gmail.com and I'll email it to you, but it'll be after the live. I used to use Dropbox, but so many people had issues with Dropbox. So I switched to Google Share, and some people have issues with Google Share. So I just can't seem to win no matter which way we go. The applique portion of this mug rug, we're going to do raw edge applique. Y'all know I love raw edge applique, and I've already pre-cut each one of my pieces. The letters are mirror imaged, so if you're using a fusible, like Heat and Bond Light, Wonder Under, any of those fusible products, you're ready to trace, right? If you're going to use freezer paper, you need to trace your letters from the back side of your paper. Oh, okay, so what was I going to say? All right, our letters. I'm having a hard time focusing. If you're going to make one or two of these mug rugs, I think it might be faster just to cut them out by hand, right? They're pretty big size letters. They're not itty bitty teeny tiny letters. So even if you have shaky hands like I do, I think this mug rug, you'll still have a pretty easy time cutting out the pieces, right? But if you're going to make a whole bunch of these mug rugs for Valentine's Day and you have a cutting machine, I do have a separate SVG package in the description box. You can download the SVG. I think it's like $2.50 and cut out a whole bunch of these letters all at one time. It will save you a lot of time if you're doing a lot of these mug rugs. What's on my shirt? Let's see. I turn thread and fabric into quilts. What's your superpower? I got it on Amazon about a year ago for my birthday. Miss Vicky and Miss Diana 57. I just want to shout out to you guys for moderating. Thank y'all so much for keeping an eye on the chat. So all of my letters and my heart are already pre-cut and ready to go. So we're going to start putting this mug rug together. And I think I have to really focus so I don't mess up. I think tonight we're not going to do a binding at all. I think the quickest way and the easiest way to do this mug rug would be to put your batting down first. So I'm just going to put the batting down on my mat. I got some threads everywhere. And then we're going to put the backing fabric on top with the right side facing up. Pardon me. Right side facing up. And then you're going to take your top fabric, and on the back side of your top fabric, you're going to trace the little oval shape on the PDF, right? I've already done that. On a day where my hands weren't so shaky, trace the shape of the mug rug if you're doing it like this. Do this on the back side of your top fabric. It's kind of hard to tell because I used a solid. On the back side, trace the shape of your mug rug. And then we're going to place that right on top, just like that, centered right in the middle. I'm going to throw a couple pins in here. And we're going to sew this shape before we fuse our letters. Because once we sew this with an opening for turning, we're going to trim all the extra off and we're going to flip it right side out. Pardon me. Whew. All right. So can y'all see that little line? I'm going to switch it over to the sewing machine. I'm going to start right about here. And when we start sewing, we're going to do a back stitch just to lock that stitch. We're going to sew all the way around right on the line and stop right about here, giving ourselves a couple of inches so we can turn this right side out. Okay? This is the easiest way to knock out a bunch of these mug rugs. No binding at all. All right, let's pick a straight stitch. And I'm going to shorten the stitch length just a little bit to a 2.2. We'll try that and see how that goes. So I'm going to lower that needle right on the line. I should have put my open toe foot on so that you could see. Let's do that. You might be able to see a little bit better. Where is the open toe foot? Here we go. There we go. You might be able to see a little bit better with that foot on. All right, let's do this again. Right on the line, we're going to lower that needle and take a couple stitches forward and a couple stitches back. And now we're sewing all the way around. Make sure to leave that opening. The shorter stitch length helps give me a nicer, smoother, curved edge. I like to slow down in my curves. Coming up to the third curve. This is our last curve. Just remember to leave that opening big enough to turn this right side out. We're going to back stitch right there and lock that in place. And now we can trim all of the extras off. It is so great to see everybody. I'm hoping that these evening lives work out for the ones especially who can't join us during the day. Friday we'll be going live and I'll start painting in the lamppost art quilt. I got my black lines done the other day. All right, so we have our stitched outline. Now I'm going to trim away some extra. I'm going to leave myself a really slim seam allowance, and I think that's really a personal choice how much you leave, right? But I like to leave kind of a small little seam allowance, except for the area where we left that opening. I like to leave a little bit of a bigger one just to help give me a pretty little closure right where that opening is. So I'm just going to take my rotary cutter. And y'all, I would say I like to leave about maybe 1/8, which is really tiny. You might like to leave like 1/4, something a little bit bigger. And I like to do the straight sides first, and then I'll come back with scissors and trim away those corners. And actually I have more control with the scissors. So this side I'm going to cut by hand because I'm going to leave extra right where that opening is. Coming right to that opening. I like to leave myself a good little chunk right there. Just being careful we don't cut those stitches, because I don't have backup fabric sitting next to us. Alright, so that's 2 corners. If you use pinking shears, that would be helpful. I'm just going to use a regular pair of scissors though, and just cut a smaller seam allowance. There we go. So we have all of that cleaned up. It is so great to see everybody. Okay, so once we've trimmed it, I'm going to trim away a good portion of this batting as well, because I don't think I want all of that extra batting tucked up under there. There we go. See that? I just cut that extra batting off, just even with the rest of this edge right there. And now we can go ahead and flip it right side out. Just letting y'all know, I miss a lot of the live chat when I'm trying to focus on not messing this up. But I do come back later on and I read every single thing from every single live chat. But if you have questions specific for me, if you put them in all caps, that helps me hopefully not miss it. Otherwise, you will not find a more helpful group. If you have questions and you just ask in the live chat, more than likely you're going to get a handful of answers at least from everybody watching. So that's nice. Everybody is usually so helpful. I'm just taking my finger right into those curves. Just using my fingernail and pushing out those curves nice and pretty. This is a pretty easy shape to turn right side out. It's one of our easier mug rug shapes to actually do this process with. So now I'm just going to flip, these chunks right inside there. I usually have to finagle with that for a minute. This is probably the hardest part of the whole mug rug if you're doing it like this. Probably so. There we go. I think that is probably about as neat as I'm going to get it. Let me heat up this iron because we're going to give this a press. We will give that a press. And it's going to take a second because she's been sitting idle since this afternoon. I've been putting together a t-shirt quilt top. And I have all my rows together. Tomorrow I just have 5 seams and that top will be together. But she's got to warm up for a second. While it's heating up, maybe I can finagle with this just a little bit better. That's about as good as she's going to get this evening. Did you get a new ironing board? Nope, I just replaced the cover on it. That's kind of nice though because I have a whole bunch of scrap sheets. And so when this gets all yucky, because I use a lot of glue, when this gets yucky, I just unpin it and take that and wash it and throw a new cover and pin a new cover on this one. So that's nice. All right, let me move that in here. We're going to give this a good little press. How wide is the bias binding to get that much out of a fat quarter? I think in the video I cut my strips at 2 inches. Usually for mug rugs, I like to use about 2 1/4, and you might get a few inches less if you cut them at 2 1/4. But I'll show you this binding here. I think that binding I cut at 2 inches. I'll have to measure it. All right, so we just gave that a good little press. Let me pull out this bias binding that I possibly was going to use. I bet you this one I cut at 2 1/4. We'll see. I did 2 1/4. You might get a few less inches than what I showed in the video because those strips I cut at 2 inches. But that 2 1/4 is a nice little size binding for a mug rug. Because on the front, it shows up nice and pretty, and on the back, it's not quite as wide. So that's 2 1/4. All right, so once we've pressed that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this back to the sewing machine real quick and just do a top stitch around the edges. And then we will fuse down the applique. See, I can increase that stitch length just a little bit this time. And I moved it to a 2.6, and you can play around with that on your machine. And I'm going a little less than 1/4 of an inch near the edge of this mug rug. And coming right back to where we started, right there. I know that's hard to see because I used a white thread and a white fabric. And we'll take that out and snip that. I don't like using my thread cutter on my machine when I'm doing a finished stitch that's going to show because it leaves a little bit of a knot on the back. So I'm just going to trim these little threads. My opening is not as pretty as I would like it to be, so we're not going to focus on that. Okay? You ever do things when people are not watching and they turn out so pretty? And as soon as you turn on the camera, you cannot get a pretty opening for anything. All right, so for this method, once you've stitched around the edge of your mug rug, we can go ahead and fuse all of our pieces down, right? So then we can just play around with the placement. My machine sounds a little clunky. Well, okay, so it could be a couple of different reasons. All right, in my pre-recorded videos, when I shoot videos of my sewing machine, I turn the volume way down. So you hear it just a little bit, but you don't hear the normal sound of it. So you might be used to hearing my sewing machine really, really quiet. That's not the normal sound of my sewing machine. And another reason why it might sound a little bit clunky, it does have a newer needle in it, but I've been sewing t-shirt fabric all day, and it probably needs a good little cleaning in the bobbin. I'm not even going to lie. The bobbin area probably needs to be cleaned out. This is the fun part when you get to arrange all of the letters, and I like to overlap them on this particular mug rug. Like that. Let's scoot this over some. But there's no rules. You can arrange your letters however you think they look the prettiest. I realized when I cut my letters out that I used the wrong fabric. This was supposed to be like red or teal, and yeah, I mixed up my fabrics. Do you ever do that? I'm trying not to put that teal Y on the teal heart because I just think it's going to get lost. So we'll do it like that. There we go. I just don't want it to get lost. There. I think that looks cute. Now I've already taken the paper back off of my pieces, right? Let me just show you. So it has the heat and bond on the back. The paper's already been taken off. And once you get your placement right, you can go ahead and just fuse those pieces right down. And that just takes a second. You don't want to overfuse it and entirely melt that adhesive on the back. And we'll let that cool off. Now y'all, at this point, because we've used the Heat and Bond Light, we have to stitch these letters down because Heat and Bond Light is not a permanent adhesive. There will be times if you don't stitch it down sometime from now where the letters might lift off, right? If you're extremely, extremely new to applique and raw edge applique, and the thought of stitching this down is something that would stop you from making this mug rug, use the Heat and Bond in the red package. It's permanent, and once you've done this, you're done, right? You don't have to stitch it down. But when it comes to stitching them down, I think there's probably hundreds of different ways that you could stitch this down, right? When we stitch down the letters at this point, it's not only going to stitch down our applique, it's going to quilt our mug rug. You could do a zigzag stitch. You could do a blanket stitch. That would be adorable. You could do any of the decorative stitches in your sewing machine. Tonight, because it's quicker for me, I'm going to put the free motion foot on the machine, and I'm just going to do a straight stitch, free motion, around each one of these letters. Then we might do a loose meandering. We'll see what it looks like after we stitch down the letters. Yes, personally, I love the satin stitch. I did this on my Juki right here with embroidery thread. It's time consuming though. It's very time consuming, but if you just want some time at your sewing machine, if you find that therapeutic and it's something you enjoy, try using a satin stitch. It'll definitely give you machine time and you're going to love the results. It would take a little bit long for a live, I think. Yes, it is well worth the look. I mean, isn't that super cute? It really gives a nice solid outline to your letters. And even if you were to overlap the same color fabrics, it gives some separation, right? I'm going to be using a white thread and doing free motion stitching. So let's move over to this sewing machine. I'm going to have to change my foot, so that's going to take a second. It only takes a quick second. We'll pop that one off. We'll get the free motion foot and put that on. Just give that a tighten. Now I'm going to lower my feed dogs. And I have a straight stitch selected, but when I do free motion work, I bring the stitch length all the way to a 0. And I already know my thread does not like the auto tension when I do free motion work. So I'm going to lower the tension. We're going to start off at a -1. And hopefully we won't have any tension issues. All right, so let's give that a shot. While I'm over here, just letting you know I cannot see any of the comments over here. Okay? All right, so we're going to try to move through this part pretty quickly. I'm going to lower that needle right here, close to the edge of the L. See that? Right inside the L. I'm going to bring up that bobbin thread to the top and lower the needle right back down. I'm going to take a couple little locking stitches so we can cut this thread, and hopefully my hands won't be in the way too much. All right, so I locked those threads. And once we move away from them a little bit, I can go ahead and cut them and get them out of the way. Now this is the fastest way for me to stitch down applique. If you've never tried this, I highly suggest you just put some scraps underneath your needle and practice with it. If you're not entirely straight That's okay. I think it kind of looks whimsical and playful. So I don't think you need to stress out about keeping exactly straight. And I'm just going to be traveling from one applique to the next. Ooh. Did you see that? She don't like sewing sideways this evening. I might need to lower that tension right to a -2. Oh, yep, I'm breaking thread. Hold on a second. It's a tall tale sign that I need to clean out that bobbin area. I'm not going to do that during a live. I should have thought of that before the live. That's all right. We're just going to pick right back up. Re-pull up that bobbin thread. We're going to just try to get through the stitching without going sideways. Alright, so we made it through the first 4 letters at the top. I'm just going to jump down and stitch these other 3 letters. I actually might need a new needle, because even though I put a new needle in yesterday, I did a lot of sewing today, t-shirt fabric, so it might be my needle too, y'all. I did do a lot of sewing today. on, thread. Hold on 1 second, y'all. This is real life, though. These are some of the things you deal with. That's all right, we're almost done. Where did we leave off? Here we go. You'll see I'm doing a little bit of traveling as I'm working through these letters, right? Just stitching in previous areas that I've already stitched. Now we're going to jump right over to the inside of the O. We will stitch that and we're going to call that done. Yep. And it's a good thing we're done because there's the, what is that, the third or the fourth thread break. Thread break. So we're not going to quilt the back because she's being picky. But there we go. So ordinarily I would have gone through that much faster. It would have been much faster had I not had to rethread the needle a couple of times. And I could have actually just traveled sideways, but my machine's being a little picky. We're going to cut all of those little jump stitches and where we started and stopped. And just clean up the front and the back. And you know what? I think that's okay. Oh yeah, look, here's a bunch of fuzz from my bobbin. That'll tell you right there. The bobbin needs to be cleaned out. See that? That's actually t-shirt fuzz from all the blocks I sewed today. I don't know if any of y'all were in the Zoom one time I cleaned out my bobbin area and I showed what came out of the bobbin. It was not good, y'all. It was not good. So that's a good tall tale sign that I need to clean out the bobbin area, especially before I start sewing tomorrow, right? But I think that's really good. And I think even with the background not being quilted, some of y'all aren't going to quilt your backgrounds. So I get to show you what it's going to look like just leaving it blank, right? So on this one, I did quilt the background so you can see the difference. See that? I think it's still super adorable, not quilting the background. You just have so many options. So many options. The way you stitch the applique, quilt the background, not quilt the background. If you quilt the background, there's 100 different quilting designs you could use, right? So many options. You could do the bias binding. You could do it without a binding. You could also do this as a rectangle mug rug with nice pointy corners and do a self-binding or a separate binding. So there's so many options. Mug rugs are so suited to everyone, no matter what level you are on. Yes. So there we go. I think that turned out super cute. Super cute. And I know you probably can't see it like through the camera, but just giving a straight stitch around the letters, even if you just use your regular pressing foot and you do a straight stitch manually, it gives it a nice little quilted feel to it. The little letters pop up just a little bit. I used a thin batting, but it does give it some nice quilty texture. So there you go. There's our first mug rug of the year 2022. I cannot wait. I don't think I've shown anybody the mug rug we're doing next month, but it is super adorable. I can't wait to show you, but I'm going to hold off a little while and keep the suspense. I think this mug rug is cute, but I like next month's better. We're going to do a technique that might be new to some of you. Some of you have done the technique we're doing next month. Some of you have not. So I'm super excited to show that to you. So if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you might want to do that so that you get notified when I put up new videos, when I put up the thumbnails, so you can grab the pattern ahead of time and actually have the pattern in front of you while we're doing the live. That might be helpful. No, I'm not going to show you yet. I'm going to keep the suspense, but it's super cute. And here's the thing. I think the pattern itself is super cute, but I did it in purple fabrics, and I'm kind of partial to purple, so I don't know that if that's why. I think it is so dang adorable. I'm going to use different fabrics during the live, and we'll see if I'm still choosing that one as the cutest one so far. Yeah, isn't this cute? I did, since we're feeling so much better, we went antiquing on Saturday. And we went to an antique mall where there's a whole bunch of vendors, right? They're individual booths. Each booth is a different vendor. And I found a scrap bag of fabrics for $2.50. And it's got some gorgeous scraps in there. It looks like a little bit of a more vintage piece in there. I'm excited to work with it. So I've put that off to the side. Let me grab it real quick. Let me just grab it. It's sitting right here. $2.50. Look at this green fabric right there. Like, I don't know if you can see that green fabric as well through the camera. It looks a little bit more vintage. If you know me at all, you know I'm all about some vintage. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And of course the green check, you know, I'm all about that too, and the stripes. So $2.50. Ooh, there's some purples. Look, stripes, purples. So this was an awesome deal, $2.50. I have not opened it up, but I thought, I bet you we could make lots of mug rugs from this fabric. So it's dedicated now. Of course, I didn't have it before I prepared for tonight, but I'll be making my mug rugs from this $2.50 scrap bag. So that's exciting. I can't wait to see what all is on the inside that you cannot see. So I'm setting that aside for next month. Ooh, Veronica, next month is my birthday too. Joe said he had to look up what a mug rug is. Yes, fancy homemade coaster. Let me tell you some of the reasons why I love a mug rug, right? Because look at this. They're so versatile. You can use them for so many things. I like to use them as mouse pads. I interchange them, and yeah, I like to use them as mouse pads. You can also hang them up as little decorations, right? Easy, quick decorations. You can put this on the refrigerator. and switch it out pretty quick with a magnet, right? I like to use mug rugs as snack mats in place of paper towels because we go through paper towels in our house like crazy. So if I can cut down the use of paper towels for snacks and things, then I use mug rugs because you can wash them, right? So we cut down the use of paper towels with the mug rugs. When the kids were little and I packed their lunches when they went to school, occasionally I would put a mug rug in there with a snack, and they'd have a little mat that they could eat with, right? That's just a few uses for the mug rugs. I'm sure there's probably more. Lisa, how to use the SVG? Do I have a video showing that? I do, Charlie. The video is actually a couple years old. So the easiest way to find it is if you go to YouTube and in the search box type Lisa Capen Brother Scan and Cut. I have a few videos that are going to pop up. And in most of them, I show you how to maneuver the SVG in the software on the computer, right? I have a Brother Scan and Cut, and so the software is Canvas Workspace. If you have a Cricut, you're using Design Space, right? If you have a Silhouette, I'm not sure what computer software works for Silhouette. But I show you how to maneuver the SVG in the software, and then how I put the fabric on the mat and cut out my applique with my Brother Scan and Cut. Lori, I don't have a Cricut, but the concept is the same. So if you look up that video, if you want to see me personally cutting out the applique, look up Lisa Capen Quilts Brother Scan and Cut, and a few videos are going to pop up. Now the concept is the same. I'm working with the Brother Scan and Cut, and you have a Cricut. Now the differences come in play with the software, right? Because Canvas Workspace, the software is different than Design Space. So I suggest also looking up Cricut videos because those are more suited and will make probably more sense being that you're a Cricut user. But the concept is the same, right? The machines do the same thing. They just work a little bit differently. Trinita, you think you sprained your ankle. You're a little bit better. We will pray for you. Oh my goodness, I did not know that. All right, you got to put some ice on it. Put your ankle up. Get the hubby to bring you some snacks and your drinks and try to stay off of it as much as you can. Oh, Sand of the Sun said I have a stack of, I'm assuming mug rugs in the middle of my table to use in place of paper towels or paper plates. The kids grab them for everything now. Yeah, isn't that awesome? I'm going to tell you, it's almost embarrassing how many paper towels we go through. So using these as much as possible, really helps save when we can. Yeah. So there you go, y'all. That's our first mug rug. Yeah, I'm going to start putting them up on the board somewhere and just do a collection of them. We're going to do 12, one a month. The mug rug videos we are doing in the evening, so if you missed the daytime Zoom, you can have the mug rug video to look forward to because we're going to do the lives in the evening. It may not be on the same day each month, okay? So that's why if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. But yes, the next one's going to be in February. Yes. Anitra, you made it. All right, everybody. I'm so thankful that y'all came and hung out with everybody this evening. Just know that I'm going to come back and read through the live chat. If I've missed any of your questions, I'm so sorry, but I hope that you did get some help from everybody else. All right, let's see. What else are we doing this week? Friday, if you're doing the lamppost quilt, Friday's the live for that, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I have all my black lines painted. I've seen 3 completed quilts. Well, I don't want to say completed. They were painted. I don't think they were quilted and binded yet, but 3 people have painted their quilts that I've seen, and they're gorgeous. I know snow is coming, Sheila. Did you see that? Harlan and I said, we've got to go to the store tomorrow. Sheila, okay, you're not that far away from me. The other day, all of Williamsburg, the roads were all salted. It snowed for 2 minutes. Now they're saying it's going to snow Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I bet you there's 5 inches of salt on our roads out there. Vicki, you are so funny. Live long and prosper. You are so funny. Diana and Vicki, thank you so much for moderating this evening. Ella, you got 7 inches of snow. And you're getting more tomorrow. Debbie, you'll be at work Friday. Debbie, now you're across the water. I'm not sure what they're calling for you, because this is actually news to me. I found out a few minutes before coming on live that the forecast has totally changed, because the last time I saw the weather, we might get snow on Sunday. Now they're saying Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we've still got a day or two. It might change again. Oh yeah, Veronica mentioned the Creative Crew. Before we go, y'all, there's a link to the Creative Crew down in the description box. Now, here lately, and I give props out to Miss Maureen, she stays busy, y'all. She helps me moderate the Creative Crew. And if you're joining the Creative Crew and you don't answer both questions, we can't let you in. And both of us, y'all, Maureen's heart is about the size of Texas, and she feels really bad when she cannot join y'all in. But that's the rules. You have to answer both questions to join in. And all it does is help weed out the fake accounts, right? So answer both questions. The link is in the description box. Come join us. Y'all, that page is not all about me. I hardly post my stuff on there. We get to see what everybody else is doing. And to be really honest, in the last 2 years, we've grown more like family than a Facebook group. So I hope you join in. I hope you join in. Everybody stay safe. Everybody's got snow. Well, not everybody, I see. Yeah, y'all stay safe. Bundle up. Only go out if you have to. And I'll see y'all Friday. I'll give you an update on our snow here in Virginia on Friday. Until then, yeah, I guess I'll see you over on the Creative Crew. Where are we at here? There we go. Yeah, see the lamppost? All my lines are painted. It went by pretty quick. And you still have plenty of time, because we're going to be doing that quilt for a couple of weeks. Right there. See that? All right, everybody. Have a fantastic evening. Thanks for joining me this evening. And I'll see you Friday. Bye, everybody.